Just by the way,
Yes.
I asked some of my yeshiva colleagues why some people call it Beitzah.
Right.
And they said, well, that's simply because it's the Aramaic word for Beitzah. So, sometimes people will refer to a Masechta by its Aramaic name, and sometimes they'll refer to it by its Hebrew name.
Okay.
There is, in fairness, there's a Magen Avraham who says that it's something to do with Lashon Naki.
Right.
But it's a very difficult thing. And Tiferes Yisrael quotes the Magen Avraham and says, I just don't understand how this can be, because, I mean, the word Beitzah is used in the Torah. Like, if it's good enough for Moshe Rabbeinu, then why isn't it good enough for us?
Thank you very much, Jessica. Thank you. Okay. I didn't know that. Okay, I'll tell my Karusa. He probably knows it. We are on Gimel Beit. If traps for animals.
No, we're in base tests.
I'm sorry, Beit.
Yeah. Let me just, you sure about that? But base test looks right here.
Base test?
Yeah.
Why I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
The new ones are from Gimel base.
Oh, that's what happened. Okay. So I have to go back to bait test, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Base test. The pepper grinder can contract tumor contamination as 3 utensils, as a receptacle, as a metal utensil, and as a sieve. A child's play toy wagon is susceptible to midwives contamination, and it may be moved on Shabbos, but it may not be dragged over the ground except over cloth. Rabbi Yehuda says no utensil may be dragged over the ground except the wagon because it only presses. And we may not catch fish from a fish pond on Yom Tov, nor may we place food before them, but we may catch animals or fowl from enclosures, and we may put food before them. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says not all enclosures are the same. This is the general rule. Whatever requires trapping is prohibited, and whatever does not require trapping is permitted.
Okay. So a person laid out traps to catch wild creatures for, presumably for food. And he left them out before Yom Tov. And you can't come back on Yom Tov to see, hey, what's in my traps, right, because they might only have been trapped on Yom Tov. Okay. Unless he saw that the animal was already caught in the trap before Yom Tov came in. Okay. Now there's a little lacuna, what they call it, something that's left out of the Mishna before the next phrase, which is that Rabban Gamliel says if there's a safek, then you may presume that it was caught before Yom Tov. Right. So he disagrees with the Tanna Kama. Okay. Now this is why it's relevant, because Rabban Gamliel had a maaseh where a non-Jew came to him and said, hey, I caught some fish. I've got some fish. Would you like the fish? And Rabban Gamliel said, he says these fish are okay. But I don't want to accept these fish from him. Okay. Why doesn't he want to accept them? So the Mefarshim differ about why Rabban Gamliel didn't want to accept the fish from the guy. He said one possibility is that he just didn't like him. I don't like to do business with this guy. I don't want to have anything to do with him. He's not a nice person. Okay. Another parish is that he wanted to be machmir on himself. We see this often. Rabban Gamliel will paskin lekula for Yisrael, but he's going to be machmir on himself. Okay, and we had that with remember in brachas when he paskin that you don't have to say, the chassan doesn't say Kriyas Shema on the night of his wedding, but he himself said Kriyas Shema, and his talmidim said, what's with this? And he said, I'm not gonna be mitbatel from Yiras Shamayim. Okay, and there's another parish over here that even Rabban Gamliel only permitted the fish for achila, but for muktzah, but not for achila.
For muktzah?
Yeah, he says they're not muktzah. He says, but you can't eat them, which is a bit of a strange position. But it's anyway, it's somebody's opinion in the Gemara. But whatever the case is, the halacha doesn't follow Rabban Gamliel. The suffix of whether something was trapped before Yom Tov or not, we're machmir on. Okay, behema mesukenes. So somebody's got a cow, sheep, goat, something that looks like it's going to die of natural causes, and he thinks, okay, I better chaparine and shecht it before it becomes an avela. Okay, so says the Mishnah, you can't just shecht this dying animal. So he's already had his Yom Tov Suda, and it's late afternoon, and he sees his animals dying, and says, look, let me quickly shecht it. You can't shecht something for after Yom Tov. He has to have the possibility of eating some of it. So in other words, he would, and what's the bar that we're talking about? It's not a very high bar. You need to be able to cut a kazais of meat over it, stick it on the grill, go so it's ready to eat. And then, if you have enough time to do that, not that you actually have to do it, but there has to be enough time that if you wanted to, you could. Okay, then you'd be allowed to shech this animal in order to save the meat. Rabbi Akiva Omer, afilu kazais chai mibeis tavicha sait. He says the bar is even lower than that, because technically you're allowed to eat a piece of raw meat cut from an animal without even salting it, even with the blood still inside it, as long as the blood hasn't moved from place to place. Mm-hmm. That's one of these interesting sort of edge cases that nobody ever really experiments with. But technically speaking, you do not have to even salt a piece of raw meat that's been cut straight from the animal, and the blood hasn't. If you've got the stomach for that, and you want to pop that raw meat into your mouth, you're allowed to do that. Okay. So Rabbi Akiva says that's the bar. It should be enough time that you could eat a kazais of raw meat from the neck of where you shechted the animal.
Doesn't sound very appetizing.
No. Okay. Shechata basadeh. Now, what happens if you shechted an animal in the field? And I think this is, many Mefarshim say that this is talking about. So some Mefarshim said that this is talking about the case of the dying animal, and some say, well, it's got nothing to do with the dying animal. It doesn't matter what kind of animal it is. If you shechted an animal in the field, lo yive'ena b'mot u'b'motah. You shouldn't bring it on a stick or a rod. They like carry the thing in full view of everyone. Maybe biyado evarim. You have to carve it up out in the field and carry it in piece by piece, because you don't want to make a big scene of the fact that you've shechted this animal out in the field, right? Because then it's nikah that you're doing it lekavod yom tov and not just as a stam. That you shechted something for industrial purposes, or that you want to sell it to the butcher or something like that. So from that shinoi and the way that you're bringing it in, it makes it evident that this is only lekavod yom tov. Okay, Mishna Daled bechor shenafal labor. So now remember a bechor. The din of a bechor is that of course it has to be given to the kohen. But it becomes basically monetary value of the kohen. And since we don't have a Beitzah mikdash, you can't do anything with the bechor. You can't even shear it, okay, until it develops a mum. Once it develops a mum, then it can be shechted and eaten, and it's as chulin, okay. And it's property of the kohen. He's allowed to sell it to a Yisrael as well, okay. And now this bechor on Yom Tov has fallen into a pit. It's injured. There's a concern that it might die. Okay, so now the kohen says, I could shecht it and save it, but we got to make sure that it really has a mum. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda Omer yered mumche v'yireh. So Rabbi Yehuda says, okay, let the mumche climb into the pit and take a look at the animal over there and say im yesh bo mum ya'aleh v'yishchot. If it's got a mum, then pick it up, take it out of the bore, and shecht it. No problem. But if there's no mum, then he can't do anything with it. Right? If there's no mum in the animal, it fell down. Okay, so it hurt itself, but it's got to be for a mum to be a mum. It's got to be a permanent mum. So even if it like broke a leg, but the leg could heal, that's not called a mum. Okay, it's got to be something that's like we saw all of these, all of the mumim in Maseches Bechoros. Of what qualifies an animal to be shechted. Okay, so
you know that you're breaking up a little bit. Your words are breaking up.
you were breaking up, not me.
I wasn't talking.
No, but I thought your image was sort of jerking.
No, my image is good. It's me generally, but
Okay.
your voice was breaking up. I don't know.
Sorry. Okay. So was there anything that you didn't catch in there that you want me to clarify?
There it goes. Right there. You froze.
No, I didn't.
I'm telling you, you did.
Was there anything? So was there anything that you missed while I was busy jerking that you want me to go over again?
You just started by Reb Shimon, and then I didn't get because
I didn't say Reb Shimon yet. Okay, so
that's why
Rabbi Shimon disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda, of course. Kol she'ein mumon nikar mibod yom ein zeh min hamochan. Says Rabbi Shimon, you can't do that because when Yom Tov came in, this Bechor didn't have a mum. How could you possibly have designated it for shchita on Yom Tov if you hadn't if you didn't see a mum in it yet? Is it me or you? It's you.
Okay.
Okay. So
me?
Yeah, I can see on my
I'm not breaking up.
on my screen.
I'm breaking up.
On my screen, I see that your connection is going like red, yellow. Whatever.
Right in here is where you're breaking up.
Okay.
Really? I don't see.
Okay, I'm going to try and change my access point. Just a second. Okay, I've changed my access point. Let's see if that makes any difference.
Okay. I'm all green on everything. Okay.
Okay, cool.
All right, let's see what happens. Okay, so Rabbi Shimon says in any case where the blemish was not detected before Yom Tov, it is not considered to be prepared.
Right, and that's because it was he's saying that you can't. So what Rabbi Shimon is also saying here is that you can't check mumim on Yom Tov because it's like doing a judgment, right? It's kadan din. It's like making okay, and that's a gezerah. It says Rabbi Shimon that they can't do. It's a rabbinic rule that you can't make a din Torah on Yom Tov.
Okay.
Right. So therefore he says there's no way that you can check this bechor on Yom Tov, and the only way that you can check the bechor on Yom Tov is if it had been checked for a mum before Yom Tov and confirmed as a mum, as a bal mum. Okay. Adkan. Let's go to Chazara Sukkah Hey Vav.
I'll just see one thing here. We started. Okay, that's what it was. All right. Okay, Sukkah. We have Hey Vav. On the first festival day of Sukkot, there were 13 bullocks, 2 rams, and 1 he-goat. There remained 14 yearling sheep for 8 watches. On the first day, 6 of the watches offered up 2 each, and the rest offered 1 each. Second day, 5 offered up 2 each, and the rest 1 each. On the third day, 4 offered up 2 each, and the rest 1 each. On the fourth day, 3 offered up 2 each, and the rest 1 each. On the fifth day, 2 offered up 2 each, and the rest 1 each. On the sixth day, 1 offered up 2, and the rest 1 each. And on the seventh day, all were equal. On the 8th day, they reverted to casting lots as on the other festivals. The Chachamim said, whoever offered up bullocks today should not offer them tomorrow, but they took turns in rotation. During 3 periods of the year, all 24 watches were equal in the prescribed offerings of the festivals and the division of the panim bread. On Shavuos, they would say to him, here is your matzah for you, here is your chametz for you. The watch, whose time of service was fixed only, it offers the daily burnt offerings, vow offerings, free will offerings, the remaining public offerings, and this watch offers everything. If a festival fell near Shabbos, either before or after it, all the watches shared equally in the division of the panim bread. If one day intervened between them, The watch whose time was fixed took 10 loaves, and the one that stayed behind took 2. But during the rest of the year, the incoming watch took 6, and the outgoing watch took 6. The Yehuda says the incoming watch took 7, and the outgoing watch took 5. The incoming watch divided the bread in the north, and the outgoing watch in the south. And the watch of Bilga always divided the bread in the south. Its ring was permanently fixed, and its window was sealed.
Okay. Hey,
Where are we going to next after Sukkah?
Beitzah.
Beitzah. Okay. Back to Beitzah. We have Yoma and we have Gimel Zion. In the morning, you put on Pelusian linen worth 12 mana, and the afternoon, Indian linen worth 800 zuz. These are the words of Rameya. But the comments say in the morning, he donned linen worth 18 mana, and in the afternoon, linen worth 12 mana, all worth together 30 mana. These amounts came from the public treasury, but if he wishes to add to these amounts, he may do so from his own. He then comes to his ox, and his ox was standing between the antechamber and the altar, his head to the south and its face to the west. The Kohen Gadol stands to the east of the ox facing west, and he supports both his hands upon it, and he confesses. He would say the following: I beg of you, Hashem, I have acted wickedly, rebelled, and sinned before you, I and my household. I beg of you, Hashem, forgive now the wicked acts, rebellions, and sins, for I have acted wickedly, rebelled, and sinned before you, I and my household, as it was written in the Torah of your servant Moshe, for on this day he will atone for you. And they answer after him, blessed is the name, the glory of his kingship forever and ever. He then comes to the eastern part of the courtyard, north of the altar. The deputy Kohen Gadol to his right, and the head of the family to his left. The two he-goats were there, and a lottery box was there, in which there were two lots. They formerly had been of boxwood, but Ben Gamma made them of gold, and they used to laud him.
That's it. Yeah. Okay, Shabbos, Kaf, Beis, Hey.
Okay. One who bathes in the water of a cave or in the water of Tiberias and dried himself with even 10 towels may not carry them in his hand. But 10 people may dry themselves with one towel, their faces, their hands, and their feet, and they may carry it in their hands. One may anoint and massage his stomach, but we may neither knead nor scrape the skin. Why may we not go down to the kordima, nor take an emetic, nor straighten an infant's limbs, nor set a fracture? If one's hand or foot became dislocated, he may massage them with cold water, but he may bathe according to his usual manner, and he is healed. He is healed. A person who may borrow pitchers of water or pitcher of oil from his friend, provided he does not say to him, lend me. In the same manner, a woman may borrow loaves of bread from a friend. If he does not trust him, he may leave his cloak with him and make a reckoning with him after Shabbos. So too in Yerushalayim, when the day before Pesach falls on Shabbos, he may leave his cloak with him, take his Pesach offering, and make a reckoning with him after Yom Tov.
Okay.
Okay. Peah Gimel Aleph. The rectangles of produce between the olives, Beis Shammai says, peah from each one. Beis Hillel says from one for all, and they admit if the tops of the rows are mixed, that he gives peah from one for all. If a person checkers his field, and left moist stalks, Rabbi Akiva says he gives peah from each one. And the comments say one for all. And the comment agree with Rabbi.
Wait, I think you've skipped.
Oh, because I turned the right way. I'll do.
I think you skipped the page. I think you might have turned an extra page or something because we were in Mishna Aleph still, and Rabbi Akiva only.
Aleph, and now I'm in bed.
Yeah.
If a person checkers his field and left moist stalks, Rabbi Akiva says he gives peah from each one, and the comments say one for all. And the comment agree with Rabbi Akiva that if a person says, pages here, a person sows dill or mustard in 3 places, he gives peah from each one. Gimel. If a person plucks moist onions from the marketplace and he reserves dry ones for storage time, he gives payah for those separately. And for those separately, and similarly in the case of beans, and similarly in the case of a vineyard. The person who thins gives from what is left for what he left, and the person who plucks from one place gives from what remains for everything. Okay. Okay. And we have
Midos. Daled Vav.
Daled Vav. The Hekel measured 100 amos by 100 amos with a height of 100 amos. The Otam was 6 amos. The height of the Hekel was 40 amos. 1 amma was for the decoration, 2 for the bracing, 1 for the ceiling, 1 amma for the pavement, and the height of the upper story was 40 amos. 1 amma was for the decoration, 2 ammas for the bracing, 1 amma for the ceiling, 1 amma for the pavement, 3 ammas for the fence, and 1 amma for the crow chaser. When Yehuda says the crow chaser was not included in the measure of 100 amos, rather 4 amos was the height of the fence. From the east to the west, it measured 100 amos. The wall of the antechamber was 5 amos, and the antechamber was 11 amos. And the wall of the Hekel was 6 amos, and its interior was 40 amos. And the Amatrashkin, 20 amos. For the chamber of the Holy of Holies, the western wall of the Hekel was 6 amos. The cell was 6 amos, and the wall of the cell was 5 amos. From the north to the south, it measured 70 amos. The northern wall of the winding ramp was 5 amos, and the winding ramp was 3 amos. The northern wall of the cell was 5 amos, and the cell was 6 amos. The northern wall of the Hekel was 6 amos, and its interior was 20 amos. The southern wall of the Hekel was 6 amos. The southern cell was 6 amos, and the southern wall of the cell was 5 amos. The place of lowering the water was 3 amos, and the outer wall of the place of lowering the water was 5. The antechamber extended beyond the Hekel, 15 amos to the north, 15 amos to the south. This was called the chamber of the knives, for there they would store the knives. The Hekel was narrow in the back and wide in the front, and in this way was similar to a lion, as in the state of Ariel, city where David encamped. Just as a lion is narrow in the back and wide in the front, so too the Hekel was narrow in the back and wide in the front. Okay. The entire courtyard was 187 amos in length, 135 amos in width. From the east to the west, the courtyard measured 187 amos. The area in which the Israelim walked measured 11 amos. The area in which the Kohanim walked measured 11 amos, and the altar measured 32 amos. Between the antechamber and the altar measured 22 amos. The Hekel measured 100 amos and 11 amos behind the chamber of the ark cover. Okay. The question is, where did they get these measurements? What was it? Just, I mean, it's the Chum and they sat down and figured out.
I mean,
it wasn't in the Torah.
No, it's not a sacred thing that it has to be exactly these measurements. It's just documenting what were the measurements of the Bais Sheni. Mm-hmm. Bais Shlishi doesn't have to follow those measurements. Bais Rishon certainly didn't.
I just wonder why they did it that way. They must. I mean, they obviously had dasset. They had to do it.
But there were certain basic things that they had to do. I mean, obviously there was the Kaddish Kadoshim. There were areas where there was the Heichel, right, and where all these things needed to be placed. But there was no mechayev that it had to be exactly these particular dimensions and these structures and this number of chambers in the walls, right, and whatever. That was simply the architect's design.
Right.
As Rab Haber often says, he's pretty sure that when the Bais Shlishi is built, it's going to have a lot of glass. Because that's how people build it nowadays. It looks prettier. Looks nicer with glass.
Yeah, he's right.
Okay.
If one rented a house for the year and a leap year was declared, it was declared for the tenant. If he rented it to him by month and a leap year was declared, it was declared for the landlord. It happened in Tziporia that one rented a bathhouse for another for 12 gold dinars for a year at the rate of 1 gold dinar per month. The incident was brought to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and before Rabbi Yossi, and they said, let them divide the additional month.
Right, because when you've got an ambiguous term over there, it could have meant that it was for 12 months, or it could have meant for a year. In which case, so what does the ibor? Who does the ibor go to? They say it's enough of a suffix that we have to split it. The actual halacha is not like that. The chodesh ibor, everything goes to the landlord because the land is in his chazaka. So Samotzi Mechavera Lavaraya says that the tenant has to prove that it was meant to be for the full year,
Right.
not for 12 months. Okay.
If one rented a house to another and it collapsed, he's required to provide him with a house. If it was small, he may not make it large. If it was large, he may not make it small. If it was one, he may not make it two. If it was two, he may not make it one. And he may not decrease the number of windows, nor may he add to them except by a common agreement. If one leases a field from another, where it is customary to cut the crops, he must cut. To uproot, he must uproot. To plow afterwards, he must plow, all according to local practice. Just as they share the grain, so they share the stubble and the straw. Just as they share the wine, so they share the branches and the canes, and both of them provide the canes.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting story today, if you have a second. If you want to shut that off.